Welcome to a rock-based royalty episode on Untold Jones. We've all seen his Fender 62 bass, but did you know about the other bass? Today we'll explore the mysterious instrument from the Zeppelin archive. Our story begins in central Sweden and the city of Älvdalen, home to a local business that made its rock and roll footprint. It's the late 60s and music manufacturer Hagström had been in business since 1925, some 42 years of making customers happy through their famous accordions, and then embarking on electric guitars around 1958 through custom models like the H series and the Sweet Les Paul, to name a few. They provided Scandinavia and Europe with a wide variety of instruments that coincided with the rising interest in pop music and the coming of age for heavier sounds. Nowadays, sought out by collectors and every indie rock band across the globe, they were vital string solutions for countless enthusiasts trying to turn their hobby into a serious hobby and maybe a career, or maybe just good memories and moving on, starting a family, getting married, getting a real job, and then look back at the times and say, I was a rock star once. So 1966 came and a design idea sparked over in America, more specifically at Unicord, the company behind Univox amps and instruments. Businessman Ernie Briffel thought about building an 8-string bass. That's 4 strings plus a higher range double set that emulated the sound of a 12-string or a mandolin. It was to be the world's first 8-string bass. Briefel reached out to Hagström, who already had a wide selection of bass instruments like the Kent, Hagström 1964, Coronado, Concord Standard C1, and the Hagström 1B. The new model, Hagström 88, went into production in 1967. Its innovative design allowed for a thin neck and stable tuning, making it a desirable product. Also, the double string feature sounded powerful, perfect for heavy PA systems and playing to the sound of loud electric guitars. The bass player could be heard as a vital protagonist for the rhythm section. 1967 was a pivotal year for good promotion when the Jimi Hendrix Experience landed in Sweden for a 7-show series in May. Noel Redding was approached by Hagström and became part of the 8H family, using the instrument on feature acts as bold as love tunes like Spanish Castle Magic and Little Miss Lover. Jimi Hendrix followed, using it for 2 Curtis Knight recording dates in July and August 1967. We can spot the instrument on one of the many album covers out there. September 1968, the New Yardbirds played Sweden for the first time. You can watch my making of Led Zeppelin 1, Episode 2 for a deep dive on this fascinating trip. So Hagström stepped up production of the 8.8, aiming at 2,000 units by the end of the decade. Fast forward to late May or early June 1970, Led Zeppelin is in the middle of recording their 3rd album, and according to many sources, Untold Jones used a Hagström 8.8 for Celebration Day. Compared to other numbers on the record, you can feel this is a different bass sound with a much wider stereo image than the rest. So when did Jones acquire his Hagström 8.8? Well, based on the Zeppelin's popularity while they played Sweden in 1968, it's safer to think their heavily publicized March 1969 return got Hagström representatives to approach Jones about their famous bass. The other possibility before the recording of Zeppelin 3 leaves us with their February 1970 Swedish visit as a part of the European tour. But with Noel Redding of the Jimi Hendrix Experience already promoting one, it makes sense that Jones saw this around 1968-69, so I think he got it before 1970. Now there was an interesting Hagström Unicord connection to Jimmy Page as well, in a way. He used Univox amps in 1971. Check out this promo ad for Led Zeppelin, plus Page himself at their September Madison Square Garden soundcheck. There was a time where Univox was Jimmy's sound. But despite the 8H tones featured on Celebration Day, Untold Jones left it at home and it was quickly forgotten, until January 1973 and the second part of their Strange UK tour. I say strange because it was cold, Robert had vocal problems, and it was cold. Photo evidence shows he used it at venues like King's Hall in Wales on the 16th, this unidentified show, and the Gaumont Theatre on the 21st, the day before their famous Southampton bootleg. Based on my live recording analysis, it seems Jones used the Hagström for dancing days, as there is a noticeable low-end frequency boost compared to the other numbers in the set.
Oh, you liked it? Okay, great.
Good evening. This is a nice song for the summer, practice for the summer, dancing days. I got my flower, I got my power. This is a song that is on the next album, and
there's an online debate on the Hagström 8 making one last return for 3 tracks from Presence, Achilles' Last Stand, Nobody's Fault But Mine, and Royal Orleans. While Jones has stated in interviews that he actually used his 8-string axe built by an Alembic employee, Bruce Beckvar, the dates just don't add up. It seems this new instrument made its official Zeppelin debut during the first part of the Manticore rehearsals that took place in November 1976. Jones shared some complaints on the Hagström's design and performance, allegedly saying the sound was everywhere. Now, the alleged Hagström bass lines on Presence seem a bit higher on the treble side of things, which opens up the speculation of Alembic versus the Swedish instrument. But in the end, you can't deny the Hagström's influence in Jonesy's latter-day Zeppelin weapon, the 8-string Alembic. Fun fact, December 1976 saw the release of Genesis' Wind and Wuthering, with Mike Rutherford playing an 8/8 on track 2. This audio bit helps us determine if the present sound was in fact a Hagström. The last theory has Jumple Jones allegedly taking the Hagström 8/8 to the famous Los Angeles 1975 rehearsals for Presence. Rumor has it was a writing tool, but nothing more. A Zeppelin mystery, the question remains, but Jones's bass wisdom remains the same. I'd love to hear your theories in the comment section below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Bye bye. But wait, there's one more bass before we go. Just like the Hagström, it was built in 1967. The Fender Bass 5 was the world's first 5-string of its kind, but unlike modern basses where the 5th string is tuned to a low B note, this one had a high C string that allowed players to add some flair based on the perfect 4th configuration of the 4th and 5th strings. Jumple Jones bought it around late 1969, early 1970, but it wasn't used until Led Zeppelin's 9th North American tour, May through July 1973. The new musical demands of the Houses of the Holy material, plus the high energy vibes of the tour, pushed Jones into taking the new bass on the road, despite him allegedly telling a reporter years later, quote, "This was the ugliest bass guitar in the world." Jones used it extensively during the first part of the tour. Tampa Stadium had it on the opening numbers. How to spot this? Well, Jimmy's still wearing his white jacket, so that means Rock and Roll, Celebration Day, and Black Dog. Now, did the bass make a difference? Yes, but in very specific places. The Fender 5 was employed for Over the Hills and Far Away, where Jones could play the ascendant scale with ease, thanks to the high C string. Further use can be heard on The Song Remains the Same and some versions of Heartbreaker. The ugliest bass in the world kept going all through Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth. Local police reports were filed with complaints about the ugly design. Some bass players fainted, others had motion sickness. It made its way to the LA Forum show on May 31st and was immortalized on a famous poster found at record stores. Poor Jonesy holding the instrument in just about every photograph. I bet he was thinking, why am I playing this bass? This ugly bass. Now let's take a look at the design for a minute. Is it that ugly? Well, it looks like a stylized and stretched Jaguar. It looks funny. Maybe it's the body around this area that throws you off. It feels like an excess body thing. Like they were designing this and then the Fender staff went for lunch, only to never address the aesthetic balance issue. It feels unnecessary, much like Ted Nugent's discography after 1978. This program is brought to you by... Anyway, Jonesy's infamous bass carried through the famous Kezar Stadium shots and the next day's second show at the Forum, where you can sense Jones wants to leave the instrument in LA and never look back. He used it at Chicago Stadium on July 6th and 7th, but then, according to my photo research, it was gone. He went back to his loyal Fender 62 bass. And yes, you guessed it, the ugly Fender 5 was not featured on the Song Remains the Same movie. I'm sure Jones didn't want to be embarrassed by the Fender Bass 5 on film. So how did he manage to play the music passages without it? We all know the answer.